All right. Hello, everybody. I hope you're having a great Thursday, and glad you could join me either live or um, after the fact. Um, First things first here, just get my ducks in a row. Morning Pages guitar. That's not what I'm doing. I gotta change the title of this live stream to The Truth, which is um, drawing flowers with Michael. And then save. And then change the picture to this beautiful picture of flowers that's sitting on my desktop I just took at my house. These are a nice bouquet that Ginger got. Her mom got at the farmer's market and brought and left for us. So that was nice of her. And also gave me something to draw with. So why is this still... Sorry, it always takes me a second just to get all... there we go. And turn my volume down. Okay. So, let me stretch this microphone out in front of me. Put it in the comments. I think maybe a ranunculus something. I'm not sure. I'm not a great flower namer, but I'm gonna try to draw these flowers. Now you can see these three rectangles I have sitting in front of me on my cool video feed. They're crayons, actually. They're one red crayon, one blue crayon, and one yellow crayon. So I'm gonna try to emulate the colors of this here flower, which I'll pull down a little bit so you can see the whole thing, with just these three colors. So I use our noggin here to figure out how to make those colors, or at least yellow, blue, and red. Which one of those do you think is the darkest color? Well, actually, the darkest color is purple, which we'll see. I'll do a little demonstration before I draw my flower, actually. And the lightest color is yellow. And let's kind of see this. I don't know if I can turn the stream black and white. That'd be pretty cool. But here's just a little demonstration of how I'm going to mix some of the colors. I don't know if you have crayons at home. This would be ideal to copy me with crayons. But if you have markers, those might work the same way, or pastels, or anything colored where you just have three. You could do this definitely with paint mixing. But anyways, so the lightest color is going to be yellow. I'm going to make this yellow, and I pressed pretty hard here. And then I'm going to do red is going to be the middle darkness. Blue should be darker than the red. Now I can mix the colors to make even darker. Like I said, purple is actually the darkest color. So I'll take some blue, and then let's see what happens when I put red on top of it. Near black. So we've solved that problem. Now we'll use purple instead of black. Because our eye kind of registers that as black anyways, because it's so dark. So I've mixed those to make a darker color. Now let's see if I can make the green that's going to be in the stems of these flowers. So I have yellow. And then let me put some blue on the yellow. Got me a decent green. It looks still pretty blue, so I'm going to go ahead and put yellow back on that blue on top. Ooh, so now I know that yellow on top of blue makes a nicer green than the other way around, because that came out. And it's still, you can see the yellow, you can see the blue, but that's going to create the illusion of green to our eyes for the stem. What other color do we need? We need that orange. which is a little bit darker. So I'm going to go yellow with red on top, see what that makes. That's kind of a dark red orange, so let's see with red and then yellow on top. If I press hard with the yellow, I can really kind of start to mix with the red, and those are pretty similar actually, but that's a nice yellow. I just have to know to be light with the red, so if I go kind of a light shade with red and then yellow, I wonder if this will make a nicer, brighter orange. Yeah, but I like the texture of that the crayon creates. But yeah, there's our colors. Again, we're gonna use purple for. I want to see what happens if I put yellow on top of the purple. Just kind of graze it out a little bit. We're gonna use purple for black. And we're gonna mix our crayons to make red and yellow. I mean to make orange and green. Excuse me. So, first thing we need to do is draw the outline of our flower here. And since I said yellow is the lightest color, I'm going to use that for my sketch because I can always get darker and it's hard to get things lighter. Got my blank side of my page here. And just like the other videos, if you've watched any of them, hi Robin. It's good to see your name and a little green icon. I know it's you watching. I'm going to look for the biggest shapes to draw in this picture. And I'm actually, and so I don't get stuck on the flowers, I'm going to draw the wall behind the flowers. So to the right side, I have that dark line of the bottom of my house. I'm actually going to go ahead and just try to get the shape of that blue area of the house. And I know I'm not even using blue. Again, that's just because I'm sketching it for now. And then down, something like that. I think it's actually a little taller, so I'll go like that. I'm using yellow so that if I mess up, I can kind of fudge over it a little bit. Now I'm going to go across and do the left side of the wall. Just kind of looking at the shape of the picture that's on our screen here, and attempting to get something like it. I won't get perfect, but since it's flowers, something organic, if you are a little bit off, that's okay. All right, that looks like the right shape. And then I don't know how well you can see the yellow on the screen, but just bear with me for a second while I get this in, just so I get a general shape. Goes like that, and down and around, up, around and in, something like that. Then the top of the vase is like that, maybe. Okay. So yeah, you probably can't see that very well, but now I'm going to go in with some darker colors. So I have my red, yellow, and blue. I'm going to just stick to just that. Now I'm going to just go with the darkest color first. I think that purple, which is the, I'm going to do red with blue on top because blue is darker and I want it to be as dark as possible. So the darkest line I see is the bottom of my, the blue part of my house. So I'm going to go ahead and draw that line in, which would be right here-ish and there. Now I'm going to start with red and I'll go in with the blue over it in a minute. Okay, now looking for all the dark points in my picture, the darkest points. So I'm looking for black, anything black. It looks like the bottom of these flowers have some shadows that near black and into the stem. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of get the shape of those areas roughly. Now I want to be careful because red is the opposite of green. And I know this area is going to have some green in it, so I don't want to totally kill it out with the red. But again, this will be purple. Okay, and then the bottom of the vase, maybe just a little bit. Okay. Now I'm going to go in with the black and go right over those parts that I just got red. Like that. Go over that. And I'll still kind of look at my reference so that I can get even closer maybe than I did with the red. Okay. And now since I already have the blue in my hand, I can be a little bit efficient here. And I know that the green flowers through the middle are going to need to be blue with yellow on top. I've got blue with me. So I'm going to actually do that now, the blue. So everywhere that I see green, I need to have blue first. So looking at the actual vase area, so not the flowers that go over the vase, but the vase itself, the flowers kind of go inwards like this. Wow, how delayed is this video? Oh wait, that might be me. Let's see. Go forward. Just making sure that the live stream is on time here. Wait a second. Why is it so delayed? That's wild. Anyways. Oh, hey, I know why. Sorry, you're not even seeing what I'm drawing. Let's see. My iPad screen closed out. All right. Well, here you go. Okay, that's a little bit better. So, again, what I've done here is just put the purple in. So that's blue first and then red. Now I have blue, and I'm going to go in and try to get the stems of the flowers. And I'm going to skip, you can see kind of in the middle of the flower vase towards the top, there's two white horizontal lines that almost looks like an equal sign. And that's the reflection of the sky, I think. So I want to be careful not to do blue on top of those areas. So I'm going to actually circle kind of where those are so I don't mess it up. So it's kind of, there's one here. And then there's one like here. So I made two little light circles there, just so I could avoid them. So now I'm going to lightly, because I can always go darker, I'm going to lightly just shade in the area that is green. So we got, it gets darker towards the flowers. So I'm going to get a little bit darker towards the flowers. And there's a little bit of green stems up towards the top. So I'll just kind of put those in roughly. Then there's a little bit of foliage shooting out the side here. Shooting out the side here. And that's probably where all the green is. You can always darken it later. So now, to make it actually green, I'm going to take my yellow. And I'm going to go right over where I just did the blue. And pressing a little bit harder so that the crayon wax mixes. Because I think, this is a theory, but I think that when you press hard, it probably melts the wax a little bit because of the friction. And when it melts it into the other one, that's how the color mixing happens. Otherwise, it could be just that I have yellow on top of blue and the colors aren't actually mixing. It's just to our eyes it looks like it mixes. Not sure exactly. So now that I've done that, I'm looking at the darks and the lights. I can tell there's definitely some darker areas towards under the flower. So I'm going to go back in with blue and just kind of start to get the lininess of those stems. So being a little bit harder in certain areas, a little bit lighter in certain areas. I want to get that foliage good. Okay. Again, so today we're drawing these flowers with only 3 crayons. A red crayon, a yellow crayon, and a blue crayon. Red, yellow, blue. Okay. So, moving on. Let's start to get the, I want to start to get those flowers in. So there's a lot of orange. There's one darker orange, and then there's a one pink flower. There's one little pink flower in the background too, on the left side. So pink is just light red, essentially. So I'm going to be very gentle and just get that pink flower in, which is somewhere around here. No detail. I just want a pink shape, about the shape of the flower. I'll also put another pink shape down there, though I don't think that other one's going to show up very well. That's okay. Now I'm going to go for all those oranges by also using pink. But looking at the shape of the flower closely, there's some borderline yellow going on the edges of these. So I'm going to need to be careful with the red. Maybe I should do yellow first so that I can retain some yellow in the spaces. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to color all those flower areas yellow. And you got to, when you're drawing, you got to keep thinking about these decisions as you're doing them, and kind of it becomes a little bit of a puzzle. I think of art like a puzzle, maybe like Sudoku, where if you ever played that, you have numbers that you have to get in the right spot, and if you mess one up, it messes the rest of them up. So then you have to go back and fix them. So there's a part of this process that feels like that. Okay, now I'm going to go in with the red, and the red is going to make this yellow a little bit more orange. So I want to be light on it where I want light orange, and I want to press a little bit heavier when I want dark orange. So just because it's the dark, I'm going to start with the darkest one just so I get the feel for it. So that's this flower over here on the side. And I'm just going to kind of start lightly, and then press harder where I think I need it. Okay, that comes on pretty hard. So I'll probably have to do yellow on top of the red again. That's okay. Now I'm going to go in even lighter on these light orange flowers, and I'm looking at the petal pattern. I'm just kind of moving my crayon in a way that sort of follows the darker orange pattern that's kind of made on the flowers. It's sort of a left and right wave type of motion. Left and right, left and right. I hear the girls outside the door. Seems like Ginger's got her hand full. It's been really nice to spend time with the girls the last few weeks. Extra time with them. Alright, so I got some red in there. Now I'm going to get the orange or the yellow on top, and I'm going to press really hard so that I mix in those areas of red that I put in. Right now, this whole technique I'm doing, the whole video I'm doing right now, I'm kind of making up as I go, using my intuition with color mixing, as well as stuff I've learned from just trying this out recently. I've been really opening up myself to using all sorts of mediums. So not just nice paints and nice pens, but I often actually draw more with cheap stuff than more expensive stuff, because then I don't have to think too hard about it. I don't have to be precious. I can consider it practice if it's not very good, which a lot of my drawings aren't very good. And that's because I'm a student too. Student teacher. Right now I'm going in with the blue. I started talking and I stopped paying attention to what I was doing. Going in with the blue and just darkening up areas that are a little darker that I'm seeing, that are darker than the orange that I made. I'm just quickly going in. Cool. Sweet. I think that's it's coming along. It's definitely coming along. I'm not worried about any edges. This is looking kind of cloudy, but I'm just not paying attention to the edges for now, because I know that's one of my favorite parts is putting the edges in, and it tightens everything up and it makes it look good. So I'm looking forward to that step, but I'm not worried about the lack of it at this moment. It's looking a little wishy-washy in the middle. I want to make it more green. It's looking a little blue, so I'm going to press pretty hard with this yellow to mix in with the blue and make it more green, I hope. Because we don't want blue stems. Though, there is blue in green. Okay, now I want to try to get, there's some dark areas in the middle of these flowers. I'm going to try to copy the shape of that dark area in here. It looks kind of like a sideways mushroom. Really, that's actually the top of the flower that I can see. So, leave it at that. And then the outside of this flower against the stems, that's creates this definition on the outside of the flower. So I'm going to darken the area just around that using a kind of curved pattern like that. I'm going to do that to a few other flowers too. And I know some of these lines don't exist, but I think it'll help. I'll use red for the other ones so that don't have these blue lines out of nowhere. But just separating the flowers with a few little hard lines so that you can kind of tell a little bit more where one flower starts and the other one ends, which is kind of unclear in my original photo. They all start to blend together, so that's okay. All right. I want a little bit more definition on those stems up at the top. There we go. Get this pink flower a little darker at the bottom. Cool. A little bit more orange in the flowers, which I'm getting by putting red on top of the yellow. All right, so now I want to get a little bit of the effect of that glass vase. People are intimidated often by drawing or painting glass, but I've really fell in love with with it. So what I'm going to do is zoom in a little bit for you so you can I'm going to both zoom into the glass and the reference picture of the glass. All right. So let's see. First, I look at the dark and the light. Is the glass area, besides those two white highlights and the highlight at the bottom, is the main area of glass darker or lighter than the area with the stems, the green stems, these guys here? Is this area on the reference lighter or darker? It's definitely more of a brown red, and it almost is the same darkness in my eyes. Maybe a little bit lighter, but it's really hard to tell with red and green, being that those are both the middle darkness colors. So I do see that it's kind of a brownish red, which tells me when I see brownish or grayish, that tells me I'm probably going to use all three of my colors. So I'm going to keep it light for now, and I'm going to just get in some red inside the thing. And that's actually almost the same color as the stuff outside. So I'm going to, actually there's that layer of concrete. I'm not going to do the stick in the background. You see the stick that's behind? I'm just going to pretend it's not there. So I'm just going to put the rock layer here. And then I'm going to, just like the picture, it's a little bit darker outside of the glass than inside of the glass. The rocks are, rather. So I'm going to get a little bit darker. Actually looks like quite a bit darker. That's okay. On the outside, and I'm just going to fill in all those rocks red. but knowing that I'm probably going to add blue and yellow to that to gray it out a little bit, because I don't want it so bright as red. Like that. And you can see how doing this tightens up the edge of my vase a little bit, and I have to kind of be careful because every stroke I do cuts into this vase. Oh, Olive's coming. Yeah, Olive, what's up?
Can you please do make a I need to go potty.
You need to go potty?
And poop.
Okay.
Man, take a break.
Yes, I can run over there real quick. Why don't you go, and then I'll meet you over there. Gotta go, you gotta go. All right, so I've gotten the red in for the outside. You know what I've forgotten is those 2 rubber bands around the flowers. So, sorry, rubber bands. I'm going to pretend you're not there either. Because I would have had to do them lighter. If I had paint or something, I could paint on top and make them lighter. But I don't. So, I'm going to do the concrete area with yellow, because that looks like a more yellow. It's almost as if we have red for the concrete, red for the rocks, yellow for the concrete, and then blue for the house. So that's kind of convenient. So that's actually what I'm going to do, lightly. I don't want to be too... and looking at the texture of the house, it looks like the slats go left to right, so I'm going to try to be consistent with that and just do left to right strokes on the house, so it makes it look more man-made. Things that are man-made tend to be straighter. Things that are natural tend to have more curves. All right. Oh, looks like my thing delayed here again, so here's an update on my drawing. I'll try to keep an eye on that. I don't know why it's doing that. But let's zoom out a little bit again. There we go. All right, getting there. Now give me 1 minute to go help Olive out in the bathroom. All right. All right, so looking pretty good. Looking good. I'm going to keep continuing on the definition of that glass, of the glass vase. Now, the darkest areas of the vase look like they're a little bit blue, green, gray, mostly gray, shades of gray. So I'm going to kind of use blue for gray for now. There's a weird melty area on this crayon that's kind of throwing me off, but I'll try to overcome. So there's a dark area at the bottom. There's definitely a dark area to the left side going up to the rim, and on the right side going up to the rim. Kind of outlines the whole vase. And then the top rim has a slight concave going down angle. Yeah, like that kind of. All right, and then there's the water layer, which is a little bit up above the line of the concrete. And we can see a little bit of it going back. And that'll give us a little bit of 3D. And then a little bit of blue here. Now that we see, I'm keeping those highlights. So I want a little bit of white in the middle, because that gives it a little bit more reflective. I wish I would have saved one on the bottom, but that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and darken the red, both in and outside. And then I'm going to add yellow to make it a little more orange. This is going to probably end up being darker than our reference, but it's okay. Make a little bit of yellow for orange. And then I'm going to add... this will be the texture element with the black. I'm going to try to kind of draw the little shapes of the rocks. So I don't have to draw... If I drew circles, it would flatten out the image. I'm going to look at the texture of the rocks, and it's almost just like interlocked lines. So I'm just going to approximate that. I'm not going to copy each rock, but I know that as it comes closer to me, I'm going to see bigger lines, and as it goes further away, I'm going to see smaller lines. So besides that, I'm just going to improvise. So get them closer together as it gets that way and towards the edge. So a bunch of little squiggles, and then bigger squiggles as I get towards the bottom. I see closer to me, but it's not any closer to me in real life. It's actually just towards the bottom of the page. There we go. Now those are looking good. They're looking a little blue though, because I have blue on top. I'm going to go red on top of those again. So this is me loosely tracing over those squiggles I just did with more squiggles that are red. Because I just want to dial back the blueness of that. And I know the opposite of blue on a color wheel, which next time I'll put a color wheel up. That would be a good idea. But not now. The opposite of blue is orange. So I want to put orange on top of blue, which is both red and yellow. Alright, now I'll just put yellow over the whole thing. This should maybe brown it all out a little bit. In any case, it's a cool pattern down there. Alright. A little bit more red on top of that. I'm really darkening it all up down there. That's okay. Okay, I'm going to stop. Stop while I'm ahead. Make sure my camera's on. It is. Next here. Let's see. What could we do next? I'm going to darken up that yellow that's above it with a little bit of red. Not too much. I don't want it to become the same color as we just did. So I'm going to leave it like that. And that shadow coming down from the top, I can kind of pull down a little bit. Oh, that silly little edge gave me trouble again. Cool. There's a little crack in the concrete here. Now there's I'm gonna pull back my reference actually so you can see what I'm talking about. I already still have it zoomed in. Make them about the same size there. A little bit. Oops, cutting off the top. There we go. How did I do this before? How did I fit it in there? There we are. Okay. So I want to make the blue at the top a little bit greener and a little bit darker. So first I'm just gonna add a layer of yellow over the whole thing. Notice how I'm using the side of a crayon? Now you don't always have to use these are weird kind of rectangle crayons, but you don't always have to use the pointy part. You can use the side to cover more quickly. So I use that when I'm trying to cover big areas. I'm going to draw those two lines where the board separates here with a sharp line. Alright, something like that. Straighten this out for you so you can see it all. Getting close, huh? I think in order to see the the flower definition more, I'm going to need to get this background pretty dark. So I'm going to go in with some more blue, since I want kind of a red, yellow, blue thing. And I'm going to remember to pay attention to the edges of my flowers and kind of give it the shape of my flower. So I'm going to kind of be a little bit squirrely around the edges of my flowers. And then I'm going to go back to that left to right motif that I had before, just to kind of keep the plankness of the wood. All right, that definitely popped out the flowers more, and having that little bit of white between them even gives it a little bit of glow, I think. I can see a little bit of the wall actually behind the flowers, so I'm going to add that in where I can. Just a little bit of that. I think I should even go darker. I know I'm going up and down now, but that's just to fill in a little bit of the spaces that I didn't. Going left to right. I'm going to add yellow, just left to right, and then I'm going to add actually a layer of red very lightly over the top, just because I feel like graying out the blue a little bit, making it a little bit darker, making it a little less blue. All right, looking pretty good. I think that the that pink flower needs a little bit of love, so I'm gonna kind of emulate the shape of the petals that I see. Now the reference I'm using is purposely pretty small on my screen, so I'm not so that I don't get too wrapped up in all the small details. But this stage of the drawing, towards the end, is where you can kind of focus on the details a little bit more. Because if not now, then when? Looking good. Just a little bit, maybe more flower petals in this main flower. I'd say this is the main event of the drawing, is that front flower. So you probably want a little bit of more definition in the main event than in the rest of the drawing. But not too much, because I don't want one area to be really detailed and the rest not. All right. What I want to do now is kind of tighten up this glass a little bit more. So I'm going to go in with the blue and be really more careful than I have been before around the edge, and just drawing that edge in and fading out. I'm definitely making the ground pretty dark here. Not completely on purpose, but now I'm going to go with yellow just to darken up everything that's not the flowers, because that's how you create contrast. As you darken some things, keep other things light. If it's all the same amount of dark and light, it might look a little bishy. Cool. I'm thinking this is getting pretty close to done. My flowers definitely look more yellow than orange. And my shapes aren't fantastic. I wonder if I can even come in with a hard red line just to like fix up this edge. There we go. That's a little bit nicer than it was. Yeah, my left edge over here is a little bit rough, but that's okay. What I can do is cover that up by making my yellow area, saying sorry to that idea, and making it green. That might help it up a little bit. Oops. I dropped my red. Okay, I want to make this these yellow, which look kind of bright. Let's see if I can darken the screen for you a little bit. Let's see. Oops. Not zoom in. There's got to be a way to darken the screen a little bit. Oops. No. I've got a chair on my desk holding this all up. Oh, there we go. That's a little bit closer to the darkness that I'm seeing. Yeah. But still, this yellow looks a little bit too yellow. I want to make it a little more orange. So I'm going to be very careful and lightly, very lightly rub this yellow with red. Very lightly. Cool. And then even add some hard lines with the yellow, which you might not be able to see, but it will make brighter areas, I'm hoping. There you go. Yeah. And I think that's looking pretty good. I think that the stem area is still, there's all sorts of crazy colors going in here, and I really want to make this a little bit greener. Oops, I just went through my highlight. Oh well. Live and learn. I want to get a little bit more green in the stems, so I just put yellow and then blue, and then I'm going to maybe emphasize the edges of where they end with some black, or purple rather. Cool. That just defines some of the stems a little bit more. There's also a little bit of pattern going on in here that I'm going to copy. They're like distorted versions of what's out here, a little bit bent. And that's really looking good. Now, there's one thing I like to do. I don't know if I can do it with this tool. Let's see. Hold on. Yeah. One thing I like to do with crayon, this is kind of an extra thing you can do to your crayon drawings to make them look a little bit more clean and professional. Well, I think it makes them shinier and look less like a crayon and more maybe nice looking, is you can take something like this. This is a paint scraper. Be safe with it. It's not quite as sharp as a knife, but it's pretty sharp. Or you could have somebody else do it for you. I've used like an edge of a card before. You don't have to use a paint scraper. You could use anything hard. But anyways, you just kind of scratch off the layer of wax on the top. And let me do a layer and kind of show you what I mean. You get like this stuff off, and you want to be kind of careful with it. But you can get certain effects with it. Now I might just get the whole thing off if I did it straight up, but it's making it lighter. It's also blending the crayons together really kind of in a cool way, and I don't know if you can see it, but it's much shinier and a little less textured. So I'm going to use this to my advantage, just kind of play with some of the areas, and knowing that I can go back and color on top of it again if I want. So careful not to rip my paper too, because this I've already created a few different gouges in it. Let's get rid of all that extra. It can be a little messy. Right. Do that to the ground here. Ooh, this is just kind of a cool effect. And this is just to show that crayon is a lot more, you can do more with it than maybe gave it credit for, or I definitely didn't give it enough credit until recently when I just picked up some of Olive's crayons, and I was like, wow, this is so freeing because it's such a cheap, quick thing to use, and most people have, like a box of crayons sitting around. Now I'm going right over the top of the whole thing. Alright, and then I'm gonna dust this off into the trash can real quick. Dust, 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 dust. Oh yeah, that's All right. Now, there's a little bit of dark. Now I've significantly lightened the whole thing and gotten rid of a little bit of the definition on certain areas, but it's kept a lot of color and kind of blended certain ones really nicely. So now I've got a nice even tone to my whole thing, and now I can really go in and fix it up where I want and keep those lights that maybe I messed up before. So let's re-get the top edge of this thing, but now I have this yellow line that I can follow to right there, and then I'm going to come down with some of those lines that I see already were there but have lightened up, and I'm going to go ahead and re-darken them again. But I get this nice undercoat this time of green, yellow-green, that is really even and nice to draw over. And somebody looking at your drawing might be like, how did they do that with crayon? It has that look to it a little bit. I'm going to go over this yellow with blue to gray it out a little bit, blue and red. I really want to make the background fade back a little bit. We're going to go in again and make just quicker, but I'm going to just do the kind of the shape of these flowers again. Just the shape of the petals, which certain ones seem to do these kind of, I think all of them except for our main attraction kind of have a downwards frowny face pattern going across them, and this one has like kind of an up smiley face pattern. Pink. Alright, I'm going to go in with yellow now on the stems to make them more green, and also on my flowers to make them more orange and vibrant. I'm just going to press real hard in where I want it darkest and leave it with the light yellow for most of the top area. Alright. It might seem like you're redoing your drawing you just did, which is okay. And I think that's what I'm learning with painting too, is that it's not necessarily done after the first day. You could sit on it, look at it for a couple weeks, and be like, you know what? I'm gonna paint over this another layer, and that kind of creates some magic, where you get certain layers poking through, certain layers covered up, and it certainly is cool to just spend more time on something than just like one sitting. I'm just kind of futzing around now, playing with the darks and lights, using the crayons not for their color but for their relative brightness and darkness, knowing that if I need black, I should probably add red and then blue on top. If I need a light color, I probably shouldn't mess around with that area very much. Cool. And again, if there was an area that I felt like, oh, that needs to smooth back out, I could do that same kind of thing I did already and scrape it off again, make a big wax mess. I'm going to try to do that just on the outside one more time, just for fun. I'm not going to do it to the inside of my vase. I'm going to scrape as much as I can this time, just to lighten up the outside and maybe give more definition to the inside by contrast. Again, I'm playing around here, learning as I go what works and what doesn't. bit, so this could be cleaned up. There's an Italian term for it when you kind of scratch at your painting. Sfagato or something like that. Between music and art, I've got way too many Italian phrases going on in my brain to remember them all. But that's what I'm doing here, is I'm actually letting it scratch the paper and get maybe a little bit of white in certain areas. All right. I'm gonna wipe that off again in the trash. All right, so I think that's, oops, looks like I lost my feed again, hold on. All right, but I think I'm gonna call it at that. Now, let's see, try to get this squared up so you get a good, nice, big picture of it for you, full size. Yeah. Bad for a drawing with just 3 crayons. Where did my blue guy go? I'm dropping my crayons. Oh, there we go. It's just 3 crayons to create all 6 colors: red, orange, yellow, icy green, and blue, and there's definitely purple in there. Let's see, what would I do differently? Well, I might add a little bit of these little leaf fronds kind of coming off the side here at the bottom. So I'll do blue and a yellow. This is just like little last minute touches. Maybe define this edge of our main flower here a little bit more. And the underside of some of these up here too. Maybe the edge around the pink flower. And these stems up at the top. The edges around the flowers. Now maybe get some green in there by adding yellow. It's hard to know when to stop sometimes. But there you go. Let's see, I'm going to darken this down a little bit. It still looks really bright on my screen there. There we go. Just because if it's too bright, you won't see the actual colors I'm seeing. But that works for now. I hope that this has been fun for you. It's definitely been fun for me. Pretty happy with the result. I would not put it in an art show, but as far as practicing mixing colors, especially with this medium crayon, I definitely learned a few things. And I wish you could see, I don't know, the nice kind of sheen. I don't know if you can, probably not. It's just got a nice gloss to it that's nice and even because of the scraper. Really fun way to color with crayons. I don't know if you can see it, but just like the wall area, how smooth certain parts of it are. You can't see really where I press down. I really like that texture, so I'm definitely going to use that again. I haven't actually used that scraper. I've used that to clean my paints, but not for crayons. So I'm going to add that to my list of things I can do. And I hope you've enjoyed this stream, this live stream. Yeah, take care. Take care of yourself. I'll be playing piano later tomorrow or in the morning. And then after this today, I think Zach has a live stream. So stay tuned for that. And take care of yourself. Wash your hands. Stop and smell the flowers.